What are some myths about geriatrics? We're going to bust them today. Today, this is going to be kind of fun and we're going to jump around a little bit, but we're going to talk about what are some assumptions that people might have about geriatrics or about aging and what's really the truth. If you haven't watched before, my name is Dr. Nicole Didick and I am a geriatrician. So I'm board certified in internal medicine and geriatrics, and I've spent the last 20 years looking after older adults. So what are some myths about aging? Well, here's one. All older people are pretty similar. So they all kind of like the same things, you can kind of make assumptions about them as a group. Well, of course, that's not true, and I'm putting it a little bit simplistically. But I think that's kind of where ageism comes from, is that we assume that all older adults are a certain way. We might assume that they all kind of want to relax and sit in a rocking chair. They're likely to kind of be calm and easygoing and docile. And, older adults are as different from each other as people in any age group. So if you look at 8-year-olds, they're not all the same. There are some things that are common, like they're probably all toilet trained. They probably all are learning how to read, or maybe they can read. But aside from that, 8-year-olds are pretty different. Just ask any third grade teacher. So making an assumption about, that all older people are going to like a certain thing or be a certain way is not true. And it's probably a myth that causes ageism and gets in the way of seeing older adults as individuals. Older people aren't interested in sex. Well, if you've watched The Wrinkle before or been to our website, you know that we've talked about sex and older adults pretty often. And older adults are definitely having sex. Probably a lot of people are having sex or thinking about sex or wanting sex the same way they did when they were younger. And things that have changed in the person's sex life might be more related to their health conditions or changes in their life, like if they've lost a partner or if the partner has moved to another setting and they can't be together. So thinking that older people are kind of asexual is wrong. It's just as though it's similar to how we sometimes think about stereotypes of older people, like a dirty old man or kind of a horny old lady or a cougar. Those aren't usually accurate either. So older people are sexual beings, and if you think they're not, then you're buying into a myth. Another thing that I hear a lot is that whatever somebody was like before they got Alzheimer's is amplified when they develop Alzheimer's. So if somebody is really sweet, they're going to be a very pleasantly confused older person when they develop Alzheimer's. Now, there's probably some truth to that, because for sure a person's pre-morbid, we would call it, or their personality that they had before they got Alzheimer's is going to have something to do with how they go through the Alzheimer's journey. But there can be a lot of things that affect personality and behavior when someone's living with dementia. Somebody who has been very calm and relaxed could develop features of anxiety and restlessness and anger that they didn't have before, and that could be in response to things that are going on with the dementia. So being able to predict the way that a person is going to behave or the particular responsive behaviors or changes that they're going to have, you can't necessarily predict that based on a person's personality before. So, thinking that someone's going to be the same as they were but amplified, or I've also heard people say that it's going to be the complete opposite. That's probably based on coincidence and anecdotes rather than actually what happens in Alzheimer's. Another myth is that old people are bad drivers, and that is a stereotype. The thing is that older adults might have medical conditions that might affect their driving. And in general, older adults tend to be safer drivers than some other age groups, but those are healthy older adults. If you have a health condition at any age, it can affect your driving. But just because a person's older doesn't automatically mean that they need to stop driving. It just means that they're at higher risk for medical conditions that could affect driving, and so we sometimes need to do some screening for that and pay attention to that. Everybody that I see, I ask them about their driving, and if they do have an Alzheimer's or another type of dementia, driving is something we have to discuss. But just because someone is old doesn't mean they can't drive. There are so many myths associated with aging, right? That all old people have incontinence and need to wear a diaper, that old people are slow, that old people can't hear, that old people are boring. There are some changes that are a natural part of aging, and if you watch me here on The Wrinkle, you'll learn more about those, but they're not universal. And some of them aren't related to aging. They could be related to other things. So, I hope that you've kind of enjoyed hearing about some of these myths, and maybe you've learned something, and maybe you can reframe some of your assumptions about older people. If you want to learn more about aging, I would encourage you to go to thewrinkle.ca, where you can see all my videos and maybe learn something else about older adults. Or you can watch the video that YouTube is suggesting right now.